We are here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to help you win your office pool here today. We are going to break down this entire bracket region by region to supplement the coverage you saw last night on CBS and CBS Sports Network. We are going to get into it. Let's start right away. We're going to talk the South region. And fellas, as we look in this region, obviously, Trotter, I'm going to start with you because you have been Auburn's champion since the very beginning. In September, you were telling me that this was the team to win, so I can only assume they are your team to come out of the South region.
Yeah, bold and brave of you to go there. That's kind of where I'm running it back, right? Auburn, I think a lot of people looked at this South region and they said, well, Auburn, this is a tough path for them. Like, there's great teams near there. There's an Iowa State team. There's Michigan State, all of these things. I looked at the draw and I thought it was a great draw. I think Auburn was one of my big winners from Selection Sunday. If they get Louisville or Creighton in the second round, both of those teams are highly dependent on making threes to score, both ranked in the top 20 in three-point rate. No high major team allows fewer threes than Auburn. Like, they are terrific at blanketing the three-point stripe. The other underrated part about this region, a lot of these offenses for some of these top teams have been scuffling lately. There's one top 20 offense in this region since February 1st, and that's Ole Miss, who, you could very much see a path where Auburn doesn't play them. Iowa State's been having offensive issues. Now they have Keyshawn Gilbert out. Texas A&M has had offensive issues all year. Michigan State has had offensive issues all year. So those are the type of teams that have to try to stop an Auburn offense that has built analytically one of the 3 or 4 best offenses in the internet era. Like, I'm riding with Auburn. I think they have a great path to make it to San Antonio.
All right, so Chris, this is my question to you. If not Auburn, then who? And from a coach's perspective, what are you worried about with Auburn?
I love listening to Isaac and listening to him talk about the analytics and how he believes that Auburn, their three-point defense, will be able to save them. Isaac, remember this. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games going to the season, to the tournament. There's something not right at Auburn right now, right? So we could talk the numbers, and surely those things are true. But something is going awry right now with Auburn, and we'll see if they can fix it during the NCAA tournament. I think they got the toughest draw. That's what I believe. Michigan then just won the Big Ten. You got Michigan State, who won the outright Big Ten. A&M, who beat Auburn. You got Creighton with Kalkbrenner inside, who can neutralize Janai Broome. Now, I know that Auburn has an older team than the OKC Thunder. But at the end of the day, I just believe from a coach's standpoint, they've lost a little bit of their air. And I am one of those guys that does not believe that the SEC, numerically, yes, but if you go through some of these SEC teams and you look at their scheduling, only a few teams allowed them to have the strength of schedule that they had as a conference. Auburn winning the most quad one wins of all time certainly helped. But I'm telling you right now, I don't personally believe the SEC is as strong as people make it out to be. And I think Auburn could struggle.
So, Chris, I'm going to hit you with this. I'm going to give you a little more analytics. So let's talk about the number 2 seed, Michigan State, number 5 defensive team in the country, 25 in offense. Their Achilles heel is that they don't shoot the ball too well. They don't have anybody averaging over 12 points per game. So depending on how you look at it, that can be a good thing. It can be a good thing because you can't shut down just one guy and be okay. It's a bad thing because I don't know that they have a go-to closer to carry them unless we want to say Jace Richardson is that guy. So what is the case for Tom Izzo to get back to a Final Four?
You already made the case, Tom Izzo. That's the case. They just won the Big Ten outright, right? And so my thing is, you're talking about guys who've been in 8 Final Fours, and you made a great point. They don't. And I've argued with John Rosting about this. I said, John, how can a team win a major conference outright like the Big Ten and not one kid makes first team All Big Ten? Explain that to me. Explain that to me. So what you're saying is that being a team doesn't matter. It's all about a specific star. And guys, you know this. We're accustomed to Michigan State having a pro here and there. But at the end of the day, this may be one of his better teams. Chase Richardson, yes, he's a freshman, Jaden Akins. But I'm telling you, forget about the numbers. The CNCAA tournament, and I know again, I love you guys, and I'm an analytic guy as well. But I'm gonna talk from the eye test and the coach's point of view. The fact that Tom Izzo, Bruce Pearl's a great coach too. But I think again, this region is right for Tom Izzo to get back to the Final Four. And Auburn, I think their path is a little bit tougher than people think. And I don't know if I think the SEC and that big boogeyman sending the 14 bids, I'm one of those guys that's sitting there and I'm going through it going like, I don't know if the SEC is tough as people made it out to be. Auburn's a really good team, but they can certainly be beat.
All right, now if I'm going to give a sleeper Final Four pick in this league, I'm going to go with Michigan. Now, this was a little counterintuitive for them to win the Big Ten Conference Tournament because they came in having lost 3 in a row, but they have one of the best front court tandems in the country, and Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. Ultimately, Dusty May showed that late game execution, being able to go end to end for the game winner. What it comes down to for me with Michigan is turnovers. That has been their Achilles heel all season long. If they can take care of the basketball, I think they have a chance to make a run. I'm with Chris here in that I think Michigan could pose a threat to Auburn given the size they have, but it comes with a big caveat. I do not like their first round matchup. UC San Diego is a threat. They force turnovers. They shoot threes. Chris is going to get a chance to push back on that in just a minute. But UC San Diego, they can't skip past that one. But if they do get past that one, I think they have a chance to get to San Antonio. Let's talk about those UC San Diegos, and let's talk about the potential sleepers. And if you're watching at home or in your office, make sure that office door is closed. Make sure you got the headphones in so your boss can't hear this. All right. Let's talk about the sleepers. And I want to caveat it with this. If you're in a pool where it's weighted, where you get more points, if a 15 seed gets right, that's something you got to take into account now. The 8-9 matches are fun, the 7-10s are fun, but if you get more points for picking a 14, you got to think long and hard about that. So Trotter, obviously, the quote unquote Cinderella here that a lot of people are talking about is North Carolina. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole because a lot of people have talked at length. I know Chris and the guys on the show last night really dove into that about whether or not they should be in the field, but they are in the field. Tell me what their chances are of making a run now that they are in the first 4.
I think if you're Hubert Davis, like with the interior defense, it's kind of been an issue for most parts of the season. You kind of have to like the draw, right? Like San Diego State is a really good team, but they're more perimeter oriented. They don't have that back to the basket big man that they're going to really try to overpower North Carolina inside. And if you're able to get past that, you play an Ole Miss team who basically plays 5 out and has a 6'9" Malik Diaz as their starting center. So it's like, I think you could make a case that Carolina's path here is not too bad to make a little bit of a run. I could see them making a little bit of noise if they can start playing their best basketball. Now, granted, here's the one thing that I'm eyeing. San Diego State is a terrific turnover forcing defense, and so is Ole Miss. And Carolina, the best version of them, they've been a good ball control team on paper this year. I think if you look at the analytics, it'll tell you that. But Elliot Cadeau is the biggest X factor to me, because when he's punting the ball out of bounds, just handing it to the other team and causing those runouts, that's the worst version of North Carolina. And they cannot win with that version of Elliot Cadeau this week. And so they have to find a way to make the right play, get the ball out of your hands. They're going to draw 2 to the ball a ton this week. San Diego State and Ole Miss are both teams that do not like to let you drive to the middle of the floor. 2 to the ball, get rid of it, find open shooters, and make plays off of that. And if Cadeau is struggling to make all of those plays and is turning it over like crazy, I think you have to really quickly move R.J. Davis to the initiator role. They've had some lineups this year with R.J. Davis and Seth Trimble and Ian Jackson on the floor together that have absolutely cooked. I think they have to ride that this week if Cadeau is struggling.
All right, North Carolina will begin with San Diego State in the first 4. Chris, make the people at home some money and tell them who the sleeper is in this side of the bracket.
Listen, I don't know if it's North Carolina. I mean, I gotta listen. Isaac, man, you do a great job of hyping up Carolina. But for me, it's a real simple choice for me in this part of the bracket. I'm looking at New Mexico. That's my team. I believe that the Lobos with Donovan Dent, with Nelly Jr. Joseph, and Richard Pitino Jr. has done a tremendous job winning the Mountain West. Mountain West ended up getting 4 teams in just surprisingly, but they're a lot better than people think. They score at a high rate. Now, they don't make a lot of threes. That's the thing that's, to me, is disconcerting when you can't make threes, but they rely on turning people over. And I think that the interior is strong, as I said, with Nelly Jr. Joseph, and you have an elite guard that can score. And I'll give Richard Pitino credit. Losing Jamal Mashburn Jr. and losing JT Toppin, the job he did was equally as good as the job his dad did at St. John's. But if you look at their path, right, if New Mexico, if they can get past the first game, which I think they can play a Michigan State team. It's all about that neutral site And you guys mentioned before about Michigan State, sometimes the offense struggles and you never know who's Superman for that team. And if they get in a situation, they're playing a champion. They both won their leagues. I can easily see New Mexico having an opportunity to move on. And one thing about the New Mexico program, I worked there for a couple of years for Steve Alford. One thing that has not happened there, they've had a ton of success during the regular season. They've had a ton of success during the postseason in their conference tournaments, but they have not had NCAA tournament success. And Richard Pitino has an opportunity right now to make the noise for the Lobos.
Trotter, I want to ask you this question real quickly before we move on. Did Marquette get a bad draw here? Because let's face it, guys, New Mexico is going to have the benefit of every St. John's scouting report, of every play call. They are going to get everything that Rick Pitino has accumulated in playing Marquette 3 times this year. And I think that really works against Marquette in this one. Trotter, what do you think about that?
Yeah, draws are everything. And if I'm a Marquette fan, I'm not very happy with this one, too. As Chris laid out, that New Mexico team is just different. And I think the underrated part about it, too, True Washington, one of the elite on-ball defenders in college basketball this year. You have to stop Cam Jones. I think Washington is going to be tuned up for that matchup, ready to rock and roll. I'm kind of with you. I think New Mexico is a team that could make some serious noise. I would not be surprised at all if they give Marquette hell and then give Michigan State hell in the round of 32. And if I'm Marquette, I'm like, what? Wait, my reward for kind of having a terrific season is getting to play the best team in the Mountain West. Great, thank you so much for this.
All right, Chris, I'm going to make my 30-second spiel on UC San Diego, and then I'm going to let you give the counterpoint because I know you're going to have one. And I'm going analytics here, okay? 36th overall in KenPom. They're 30-4, yet they're a 12 seed. Now, why is that? Well, it's because they haven't played anyone. Utah State was their best win of the season, but they do have the metrics of a spoiler. They are second in the country in forcing turnovers. In Michigan, this is why I worry about this matchup. Michigan is a turnover-prone team. The other thing UC San Diego does, and this is somewhat counterintuitive for a team that forces turnovers, they play at a slower pace. And think about that. You don't really see that a lot. Teams that force turnovers usually play fast. They increase the number of possessions in the game. UC San Diego does the opposite. They limit the number of possessions in the game. And that's going to give less opportunities for a superior, talented Michigan team to really pull away over a course of extended possessions. The last thing they do, they shoot the three a lot. Almost 50% of their shots come from behind the three-point line, and they shoot it well at 37%. So again, I like Michigan to make a run, but I think UC San Diego poses a threat. Chris, give me your 20-second rebuttal to that one.
Listen, I love you guys. That's why I love coming on this show. I love the numbers, but listen, the Maize and Blue, they're throwing something at the screen now. Listen to you talking about a team that just won the Big Ten. They got Dusty May, who's taken FAU to the Final Four. They're one of the only 2 teams in the country that plays with 2 7-footers. There is no way on this earth that they're going to force turnovers. They're not athletic enough to force turnovers against Michigan. There's, again, look at Michigan's perimeter. They're athletic as well. I like to see how that UC San Diego perimeter fare against their perimeter. And I just think that their size is going to overwhelm them, and they're just going to punish them inside. And you're right. Listen, if they make threes and turn the ball over, any team could lose, right? We could talk about that with any team. I just think they're going to overpower them. They're going to move on.
All right, everybody, remember, this is going to be a very busy week of the 24/7 Sports College Basketball Show. In fact, you might as well call us the pregame show because we are going to be live on the CBS Sports Network Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 1 p.m. You can find full previews of the day and days to come Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 1 p.m. on the CBS Sports Network.